You're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Dankman. Want to go see a movie? We could check out what's playing maybe at the Beacon or Majestic Bay. Or we could pop by the old QFC on 15th Avenue on Capitol Hill. That's where a local community group has been hosting movie nights for the past few months. This QFC stands for Quality Film Club. It convenes every other Thursday in the Quality Flea Center. You can see how they're keeping the spirit of the QFC alive. This club is just one of the many ways its co-organizers are creating community, and all of it is facilitated by their access to this abandoned grocery store. Josh Okrent is one of the co-organizers of the Quality Film Club. He's also the big cheese of the punk rock flea market. Hey, Josh, thank you so much for being on Soundside today. Welcome.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So tell me, how did this idea first start to start the movie club in the QFC, the old QFC?
Yeah, I mean, the story, I can go back pretty far in the story, but I'll try to start somewhere near the end. The group of people that I work with has been inside the Quality Flea Center, the former QFC on Capitol Hill, since April of 2024. We've been working basically around the clock to try to take this abandoned grocery store, later a squat, later a super robbed, desolate fire trap, and had been working for months to try to turn this into an actual functional event space and community center. And one of the ways that we would let off steam or kind of relax from 2 straight days of fixing plumbing disasters and trying to run electricity through the building would be to show movies for ourselves. And so we have our whole team are a bunch of pack rats. We've all got all kinds of collections of VHS tapes and DVDs. And so we would just show whatever short films or things that we found. Another friend gave us a screen that he had scored from a previous project. And it turned out that it was a really good place to show movies. It's big, the screen was good, our sound system is killer. And so at some point it just kind of naturally evolved into, let's open this up to the public and invite folks in. And we started the Quality Film Club.
Can you talk a little bit more about what it's like to convert a building like this? I mean, you talked about the electricity stuff, the plumbing, like what is the actual nuts and bolts of using this space?
Right. So this particular building, so the punk rock flea market since 2006, 20 years this year, has been making use of underutilized buildings awaiting development, buildings that have been abandoned and are destitute or waiting to be torn down. So for 20 years, we've been one way or another making use of those buildings and teaching ourselves plumbing and basic electricity safety and basic carpentry along the way. This building happens to be the largest building that we've been in, with probably the most enlightened landlords that we've ever worked with. So we're working with the Hunters Capital team, who are a Capitol Hill-based real estate developer. And they were the ones who were dealing with this repeated pattern of squatters making their way through the building, about on the verge of destroying it and turning it into definitely an eyesore and pretty soon a real safety hazard for the neighborhood. And we worked with them to for the punk rock flea market crew to get in the building. And it was not in a useful state when we got there. It had been looted. It had been treated pretty badly. And so it's been a process of, basically there are multiple systems that we've had to work with. We've had to first simply make the building structurally safe. So that was a matter of going through the building with a structural engineer who was a friend of ours and just seeing where the building needed to be supported, where the floors were falling through, where there were big holes, where we couldn't even have bodies standing without being a safety hazard. That was really
it was that bad. I mean, you had
that was bad. Well,
floor
when the
problems
QFC left, I don't think anybody expected the building is a teardown, right? So at some point in the not too distant future, they're going to be taking this building down and building 6 floors of housing above retail, as the standard Seattle development pattern. So nobody was thinking of doing any renovations in this building. So when the Quality Food Center left, the QFC left after COVID, they just ripped everything out. So yeah, where they had plumbing going through the building, where they had the refrigerators with multiple electricity, plumbing, drainage systems, going in different directions, they didn't make any attempt to repair those. They just tore them out and left gaping holes where you could fall 2 stories through the building to the concrete floor below. So that
Wow.
was really the first thing we did was just make sure we could actually stand up in the building without falling through. Uh, the next thing we had to do was make sure the plumbing wasn't running and literally running into the building, and it had been. So there were a series of floods, and so even where the building was structurally sound, there had been running water that had coursed through the concrete and was on the very verge of becoming a mold problem. And
Oh
then we
my
had to get
God.
and then we had to get power going. So the one of the things that the looters had done was they turned off all the power. This very well powered 24-hour supermarket. At one point, they cut through all the systems, ripped all the copper wire out, had left the only circuit that they had left standing in the building was the one that triggered the police alarm. So that the police wouldn't get the notice. Yeah, it kind of brilliant in a way,
Wow, pretty
but
experienced
pretty
copper wire
experienced.
thieves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they knew what they were doing on a certain level. So starting with that one circuit, we had to rebuild the electricity in the building, and we worked with electricians. Luckily, they're part of our crew and people we know are certified electricians, and they've helped us get the building back into operable shape. It's not done. It's by no means done. It's a forever project. I wish we had forever. We don't. But we're always making improvements on the building. And the first few months were nuts. The first few months really were around the clock, just trying to make the building operable.
So in many ways, like your 20 years doing the punk rock flea market in these different venues prepared you for this, your biggest project.
Yes, I'd say so. Yep.
Huh. And what is the timeline for you? Like, how long does the developer think you're going to be able to stay?
No one really knows. It's very economy dependent. So everyone's just kind of waiting to see if interest rates go down and to see when the balance is such that there's such a new demand for units on Capitol Hill that it just makes sense to finally build them and move people into there. The same is for the retail. So right now, 15th Avenue it has its up and downs, but it's a little bit moribund, right? Like businesses have left recently. So I don't think they're feeling that pressure quite of they've exhausted retail possibilities on this space. So for them, they're waiting for it to pencil out, for it to make economic sense. And in the meantime, they're giving us a series of 6-month leases. So which makes sense, which makes sense. It gives them they're not committed to anything for a super long term. So if the economic conditions are right for them to build, they can. But at the same time, there we'll always have 6 months of lead time. So when it's time to vacate, we can pull everything out that we put into the building, or everything that makes sense to pull out, and start looking for the next space.
Is it hard to find a space like this that meets your needs and it's the right size and a good location? I mean, do you
I
get a
mean,
lot of competition?
this particular space is great, and it's so large. It's 20,000 square feet of space. It's open, raw space, so we can do anything in it. We can show movies, we show the punk rock flea market, but we've had dance parties and we've had weddings and we had a Skate Like a Girl had their national conference, the Wheels of Fortune conference. So they came in over the course of a week and built skate ramps and half pipes and all kinds of
Wow.
skate infrastructure through the building, and we could do that because we have this massive space. So this space is special, but we're a pretty flexible group of people. We've been in a lot of different spaces with a lot of different physical attributes, and we can always make use of a space. And no, I wouldn't say it's hard to find a space, especially in this moment. You can like 20 years ago in Seattle when you could drive around and Ernst had gone belly up and a half a dozen supermarkets had left town and there were plenty of vacant spaces. It was a while where it was more challenging, but in some ways we're back to that. There's a lot of vacant Walgreens around town. There's a lot of former grocery stores that don't meet the new model of behemoth grocery stores. So no, there's a bunch of spaces. We don't want to leave the QFC. We're in no hurry to go, but I'm also not in any way panicked about finding the next space when the time comes.
It is kind of an interesting barometer for like the real estate market, as you said, interest rates, the state of retail and everything, just to kind of see the ebb and flow of what's available to you. And I just think there's something really beautiful about the way you're taking, again, like something that was kind of a fire trap and was just going to sit there unused in this amazing location on 15th on Capitol Hill in Seattle, and you're making something useful and community oriented out of it. I mean, that must feel great.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, it's a much better use of the space than anything else that could be going on there.
So tell me what it's like to watch a movie at the Quality Film Club, every other Thursday.
Yeah, it's a hoot. It is very much a club. So we have a lot of people who come once and then come back. So we're building an audience that way. We always introduce the films. We always have a discussion afterward. That's very much part of the program, and we all kind of take turns where we program it as democratically as we can, so that the people who come, we have part of the conversation after every movie is what should we show next, and people will throw ideas out, and we'll see maybe somebody already owns that film, or maybe it's already a public domain movie that we can get easily, and so that determines what we show next. And then usually someone kind of from our crew or someone that we're internally connected with will volunteer to lead the conversation for that film. And it's never hard. Usually it's one question or two questions, and suddenly the room is off and running. And we've got popcorn, and it's movie style.
So you're kind of like a renegade theater, right? Like you're a little bit off the grid, you're a club, and so you're showing the things that, your members want to show. Has that changed kind of the way you think about movies or theaters in general?
Oh no, I love going to the movies. I think it takes all kinds. I remember when there were 20 working movie theaters in Seattle, and some were showing first run movies, and some were showing silent films from Czechoslovakia, and some were just showing repertory films, or they would show different films for a week from some past collection that they had. So no, I think movies are forever. I definitely don't think of movies as being only first run movies. There's definitely always a place to show cult films and old films and art films and Marx Brothers movies and whatever. Movies are eternal.
Before we go, Josh, I mean, the punk rock flea market, as you say on the website, it's nomadic. It moves from place to place as circumstances dictate. And that's what the Quality Flea Center, will do eventually once that building does get redeveloped. And I imagine that that's hard, especially when you have a great location like this. You put a lot of work into it. Would you ever want to stay in one place? Or is part of the ethos and part of the identity of the punk rock flea market and what you do, the nomadic part of it? Like, in your ideal scenario, do you want to have a permanent location ever?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, one simple answer is that we simply don't have the economics to actually rent. We couldn't sign a market rate lease on a place like this. Like we don't have that kind of money, and we never will. So that makes it impossible. But yes, we are very much a DIY based organization. We are all about learning these skills and learning to apply them, and then teaching ourselves and teaching other people. So we're not landlords, right? We're never going to be the people who own and run a building and manage a multi-year lease, and it ain't our style. So no, I don't. Like I said, like I'm not looking. I'm not jumping at the bit to get a new space. I like this space, but there's definitely a part of our culture that we need to get back to. And so, in that regard, when we do lose the Quality Flea Center, it'll be a sad day, but at the same time, it'll help us keep our wits about us, make sure we're sharp, and take full advantage of whatever is the next place to come our way.
Still scrappy, still able to move to the next place and make it awesome too. Josh Okrent is one of the co-organizers of the Quality Film Club. He's also the founder, aka the Big Cheese, of the punk rock flea market. The Quality Flea Center is where the Quality Film Club is held every other Thursday, and that is on 15th Avenue at the old QFC location on Capitol Hill in Seattle. Josh, thank you so much. This has been so fun to chat with you about the flea market and everything. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for being interested.
Thanks for listening to Soundside. Don't forget you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 Seattle at noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or anytime right here online at KUOW.org, or of course on your favorite podcast app.